16 point，它是64 point，然后534 size， 这个就已经取了116的 operator。
我想 FMT 这个 FMT size 是什么意思？
就是那个，
我的意思是这个是3个随机组合吗？
对啊。
2乘以4，2乘以3乘以
这6个这4个里面选一个，组这一套，这个。
对，我操，那就你乘25，就是早吃早得。
选这上面选那个 real FMT，A 加 C 是最简单的是吧？
我觉得 B
要分两段，然后你把它实物虚部要分别在不同的时间输出来，然后把它自己再把它组起来。Complex 是什么意思？就是它那个本来就可以算 complex， 就它一个 multiplier 就可以算2个 complex 的乘以。
它那个啥，你就分这个，然后就缺一部分。
缺一部分，然后把它补齐。把那个实物拆开，然后把它补齐。
有一小课。
Okay, well, are there any questions before we start? Okay, if not, then we can continue from last class. We were talking about systolic architectures, and we went through the process of understanding how to take a so-called space representation, which is nothing but the dependence graph, and how to map that using linear mapping to a systolic array. So in general, we can take any dimensional dependence graph and map that to a lower dimensional systolic array. So, so I want to talk about 3 things today. First, we will talk about how to draw the space-time graph. So that's our first goal. The second goal is to talk about how do we design systolic arrays where we can include the computation time. So what I talked about last time was really non-pipelined. That means there was no computation time associated with that linear mapping, and so we'll try to generalize that. And third, we'll look at the matrix multiplier systolic arrays. Okay, so those are our goals today, and then we will let's start with the space-time representation. Okay, so so let me start with this so-called dependence graph, and we saw that this is an example of a regular dependence graph because the communication patterns of edges is exactly same at every node. Okay, so so this is called a so-called space representation because we have not assigned any computation of the node to any processing element, nor have we assigned a time at which each node will be computed. And that's why it's called space representation, because it's all in there is no time involved. And when we map that to a systolic array using the 2 vectors P transpose and S transpose, or P and S, P is the processor space vector and S is the scheduling vector. So that says if I have a node at index I, the P transpose I will be the processing element number, and S transpose I will be the time at which that node will be executed. So with that, let's say that I have a space representation which is ij, and that's a space representation which is simply a dependence graph. And when we map that using a systolic linear systolic mapping, and I can call the processor axis J prime, that's the processor axis, that will be P transpose I, and T prime is S transpose I, and that will be a space time representation. So that's a space and that's space time. So in space time representation, we can see each node and see exactly if this is the node, then we know that's being executed by that processing element number and is being computed at that time t. So that's what space time representation means. Okay, so let me give you one example, and then maybe we won't go through many of them, you will do some of them in your homework. So let's just spend maybe, let's look at this so-called design B2, which had these three parameters, P transpose D and S transpose. So as I explained to you, D is the projection vector, that means 1 minus 1, that's the direction at which we are projecting. That dependence graph, that means all the nodes in those lines, this line, parallel lines, will be mapped to unique processing elements. Okay, so D is 1 minus 1, P transpose, this is design B2, P transpose is 1 1, and S transpose is 1 0. So J prime, which is the processor axis, that's 1 1 times Ij, which is I plus j, and T prime, which is the time at which it is computed, is S transpose I, which is 1 0 times Ij, which is I. So this says that a certain node with coordinate Ij in the space representation is mapped to another node through a linear mapping, so that the processor axis, the y axis here, j prime will be whatever I plus j is, and the time will be, time is same as, time didn't change, time is same as the I axis. Okay, so so if we start with the dependence graph, initial dependence graph, okay, so this is let's say input x0, x1 and x2, so the inputs are going up through this, and the outputs, and this is W0, W1, W2. So the output is going diagonally down. So this will be x0 times W2 plus x1 W1 plus x2 W0, that's y2, this is y3, and this is y4, and so on. Okay, so that's the DG, and so now we will take the nodes and map them to J prime T prime, where J prime is I plus j and T prime is same as I. Okay, so so let's start with this x-axis. Let's not x-axis, but let's start with this x0. x0, let's just say that this is 0. Well, I could take, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, let's just take this as 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, and so on. So where does, well, let's see how x maps. So this 0, 0, this point 0, 0 is going to be same as 0, 0. So 0, 0 maps to 0, 0. This is ij, this is I prime j, j prime t prime. The next point of x is 0, 1, and that will map to 0 plus 1 is 1, and this is 0, 2, which will map to 2, 2. So if I have j prime, let's call this j prime 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so so 0, 0 is here, 0, 0, 1, 1 is here, 2, 2 is here. So what was x0 going vertically up now is going in that direction. Okay, what about x1? So if I take a couple of points, say 1, 0, let's take that point. 1, 0 will map to 1, 0. So x1 will be next parallel line, and x2. Okay, so what about the weights W? These are going horizontally this direction to the right. So again, if we take couple of points, say 0, 0, that's 0, 0, that's here. The next point on W is 1, 0. So this is 1, 0, and 1, 0 maps to I plus j is still 1, 1. So 1, 0 is here, okay, and 1, 1 is here. So that suggests that now the weights are going up. Okay. Okay, so next weight W1. So again I take a couple of points. 0, 1 is 1, 1. Okay, so this point 0, 1 is something does not seem right. So W1 is, this point is not 0, 1. Yeah, this was, let's see what mistake I did. So 0, 0 goes to 0, 0, 1, 0 goes to I plus j is 1, and t prime is I. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So 0, 1, oh, 0, 1 is 1, 1. Okay, 1, 1. Something does not seem right. Okay, I made a mistake here, it seems like. I made a big mistake. Okay, so maybe it's I made, well, your job is to tell me what mistakes we are making. So t prime, t prime is I, so I am supposed to be taking the I coordinates. So these should be 0, 0, 2, 0. Okay, so these x values x, which was up like that, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, now should go to the right. Now should go to the right. 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0. Okay. Well, this is all wrong. This is all wrong, which you will catch mistakes. When you make mistakes, you will quickly realize, and then you step back and correct them. So, so let me draw that again. Okay, so so that's the first line. Second line for 1, 0, 1, 0 maps to 1, 1. This point 1, 1 maps to 2, 1. Okay. So 1, 1, 2, 1. So that's x1. And that's x2, x3, x4. Okay, so in the space-time representation, the inputs are going to the right. Okay, the weights which were going to the right, it seems like now they are going up. W line. So if we take W0, 0, 0 is 0, 0. 1, 0, 1, 0 is 1, 1. Okay. So that's W0, and W1, 0, 1 is 1, 0. Okay. And then 1, 1 is 2, 1. So I take 1, 0, 1, 0. And 2, 1. So that's W1, and the next parallel line will be W2. All right. Okay. So those are the X and W lines. What about the output Y? So the output goes like this. We start with a 0, 2, which is 2, 0, 2, 0, and 1, 1, which is 2, 1, 2, 1, and 2, 0 will be 2, 0 is no, something is wrong. Something is 2, 0 is 2, 2. T prime is I. Otherwise, something would be wrong, because 2, 0 in the J prime T prime is 0, 2. Okay, so 2, 0, 2, 1, 2, 2. So that is, these three are Y0, Y2, Y2. Okay, so these three would be Y3. These three would be Y4, Y5, Y6. Okay, all right. So, okay, it took a little time, but I think this is now correct. Let me go back to, okay, so this one. Okay, so so what does that really say? So now remember that each one of these, this is a processing element. Each one of these on the J prime, this is the processor axis and this is the time axis. So when this node is being executed. So at first impression it gives Okay, let's see what is really happening here. So if you look at the process, this is the processor axis, let's call it processor 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Okay. So what do you see as the communication between the inputs x? So if I look at the flow of okay, well, something is very, very wrong. Something is wrong and does not make sense. Does not make sense. Well, it suggests that I should have practiced this before coming to class. Okay, well, okay, but let me say why it is not consistent with what I expect to see. So I expect to see, when I see this axis and I see the weight, for example, and W is moving, so W0 is moving. Well, maybe it is. I see something is not looking fine, but the W part is looking okay. So if you look at the W0 quantity, so the W0 was in processing element 0 at time 0, moved to, okay, I think this is not probably drawn correctly, but anyway, if I drew it correctly, I don't know why I am showing this. Okay, let's so let's take W0 from W2. Let's take W2. This is not to scale. So W2 was in processing element 0 at time 2, goes to goes to processing element. This is all also not drawn correctly in scale. So maybe let me say that this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there is nothing in between. Okay, so W2 was in processing element 0 at time 2, goes to processing element 1 at time 3, and that is consistent. So if I call this processing element 0, 1, 2, so if this was at time 0 here, goes to time 1 to processing element 1, and then goes to processing element 2 at time 2. So that W part is correct. So we should be able to take the space-time representation and relate that to the systolic architecture, and that's what I am trying to explain. The input, okay, the result part is correct. So let me just say why the result part is correct. The result Y2 is computed in, this is where it went wrong. The result is supposed to, so if you think about what I have done, the mistake, I guess we should probably have, so okay, these should be X and these should be Y, this should be Y. Okay, so let's go back and see why we are getting, why am I saying this should be Y? Because the result stays in the same processing element. So if I look at Y2, Y2 should always be in the same PE. Y3 should be same PE, and with one delay means going with one delay. Now what went wrong? Y and X got switched. And why is that? Well, let's take a look at why they got switched. So Y, let's take 2 points of Y. So let's take 2 points of y. y2 is, I see the mistake. Okay. So y2 is 0, 2, and then the next point is 1, 1, and 2, 0. This maps to 2, 0, I plus j and I. So this is 2, 1, and this is 2, 2. So if I take 2, 0, that's here. Okay, 2, 0. So 2, 0 is here, and 2, 1, and 2, 2. Okay, well, let's see. Oh, I see the mistake. I see. Okay, I see the mistake. Okay, okay. I think you are supposed to be more alert than I am. So when I'm writing this, this is I, j. When I'm writing this as 2, 0, I'm writing this as j prime t prime, but I'm now drawing this as t prime j prime. I'm taking this as the x-axis, this as the y-axis. So this is 2, 0 in j prime t prime representation. So j prime is 2 and t prime is 0. So j prime is 2, so that's this point. Okay, 2 and 0 is here. So that's this point. Okay, and then 2, 1 is this point, and 2, 2 is this point, and that's why this thing is y2. Okay, that's y2. And next one will be y3, y4, y5. And if you look at the input x, where is x here? 0, 0, so this is x0, x1, x2. So 0, 0 is again, this is 0, 0, this is j prime t prime. So 0, 0 is, that's fine. And 0, 1 is 1. 1 is j prime t 0 is 0. So this is x2. Okay, so anyway, now you can see why the two axes got switched. I should have practiced before coming to class, but it's probably better for your learning. If I make mistakes and we find those mistakes and we see what went wrong. Okay, so so this is x2, x3, x4, and so on. Okay. So now that we have corrected those mistakes, and we can see x is going up. Okay, so x0 is going from one PE to another PE in the same time. It's not going like that. So x is traveling from one PE to another with no delay. That's why there is no delay. W is traveling from one PE to the next up, one more up at next time. So that's one delay. Results y are in same PE being accumulated with one delay from here to here and with one delay. That's what the accumulation does. Have we now understood what is going on in the space time? Okay, if not, you will practice in the homework and you will understand. Okay, so now so now it gives an impression that, well, this one is showing that we need 3 PEs, and this shows like we need infinite PEs. In fact, that if I just map in a brute force way, then it shows that I need j prime will have infinite values and I need infinite PEs. But fortunately, if you look at what is going on, so let's say that the computations of let's say the computations of processing element 0, 1, 2, let's say 0, 1 and 2. So if I take that template, okay, 0, 1, 2. Now when I compute, here is what is going on. So this is really all going on infinitely in that same template, repeating in a way. So in some sense, think about it. This processing element 0 that was computing y0, which I don't show here, we start with y2. So this was showing y0. Will next, so the next one I need a new PE3 to compute y3 here, but lo and behold, I can simply move this down by 3. So that will come back here. So the next one will move down here. So this so-called PE number 3 comes back to PE number 0, PE number 4 comes to 1, and 5 comes to 2, 6 comes to 0. And why is that? Well, these 3, the computation of y, okay, is finished. So the computation of y is finished here. Y, this y0 is finished, y1 is finished, y2 is finished. And then y3, move it down, y3 goes here. So this is y3. y6 goes here, that's y6. So even though it looks infinite, and you take a modulo 3 and push them down, and then we will have a simple j prime t prime axis, which will be it will look like this. So this will have j prime 0, 1, 2, and then t prime, and these computations will be so this is computing y0, y1, y2, and the next template will compute y3, y4, y5. Next template in the same PEs will be computing y6, y7, y8. And that is exactly what you see, that the PE0 is computing, this PE0 in this diagram is computing y0, y3, y6, y9, etc. at time units shown here. y1, y4, y7 are computed by this PE, and this one is computing y2, y5, y8, etc. So in other words, we should be able to understand exactly what is going on from the so-called space-time representation, relating that to the systolic array. Okay, this is already quite a lot. Nothing involved, very simple concepts. Well, let me say that what seem like very simple concepts were considered extremely challenging concepts in 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, probably until 87 or 88, something like that. So clearly these ideas were not understood at all. Okay, any questions on this, how to take the P prime and T prime, the P transpose and S transpose, and take the dependence graph and be able to draw the space-time representation? Any question about that? Okay, so the next part that I want to talk about is in the original space representation that I talked about, I did not allocate any time. So how do I know? So the time to compute, we have not allocated that in the in the previous mapping P transpose and S transpose. So, first of all, any regular dependence graph like the one I showed can be mapped to a reduced dependence graph. So, that means there is no point drawing the whole so called space representation, because we can describe that by a reduced dependence graph by simply one node. So, that is the regular dependence graph. So, if I just take one node and write down the equations. So, the so called regular iterative algorithm or IA, which is a single assignment statement. Okay. So, this says that the x is going up. So, x I can write x for the same value of I, and j plus 1 is the same as xij. Okay. So, that says input is going up. So, input is going up means xi for same value of I, j plus 1 is same as value of j. Weight is going to the right, which means that wi plus 1 I plus 1 j is the same as wij. So, if I have this wij here, that goes to this point, and that is I plus 1 j, same value of j, but the next value of I. That is the single assignment for W. Output, if I take some yij, this is ij, and it goes to I plus 1 j minus 1. So, the output y I plus 1 j minus 1 is equal to y I j plus, that is the previous output, plus w I j times x I j. So, now I have been able to describe all this because of the regular nature of the dependence graph. I am able to describe that by simple single assignment statements. And that statement, that list of statements can now be described by a reduced dependence graph for RDG, and that means that these equations can be mapped to reduced dependence graph. Okay, so what does this say? This says if I have three variables here, x, w and y, so it says x, so if I take the displacement vector ij plus 1 minus ij, that is ij plus 1 minus ij, that is 0 1. So, the x has a displacement vector 0 1, and you could see that directly from here. X is going up 1 unit up to the y axis, and that is 0 1. W is going right, and if you subtract I plus 1 j minus ij, and that is going to be 1 0. Output to output y to y, and that is 1 minus 1, and that is what you saw as going down, going diagonally down 1 minus 1. These are the fundamental edges. But there is more than that. There is, I also need to show the dependence between y and w and y and x. Okay, so I think there is something wrong. There is something wrong. So, so y I plus 1 j minus 1. So, at some point this is the previous output plus the product at that node, not ij, plus I plus 1 j minus 1 plus I plus 1 j minus 1. Same location, and that is why the dependence from x to y and from w to y will be 0 0. They are at the same node. So, this vector minus that vector is 0 0, this vector minus that vector is 0 0. Okay, so that is the so called RDG of the FIR filter. And now what I am interested in is assigning computation time. So, if I assume for an example, let us say that the multiplication time is 5, add time is 2, and the communication time is 1. Okay. So, let me see, I want to take the same numbers in the book, so we can look at the diagrams in the book. So, 5, 2 and 1. Okay. So, that is what the book has. We will get back to that. Okay. So, now, so what are going to be the so called scheduling inequalities? So, in the previous mapping of P and S, we only simply talked about P transpose and S transpose, and we had not introduced the computation time or even the communication time. And sometimes when people designed in those days systolic arrays, they had to guarantee that it is fully pipelined. That means there is at least one delay from one PE to another PE. If you recall the homeworks we were doing many weeks ago on so called interblock pipelining, and that means making sure that there is at least one delay on the communicating edge of every block. And you saw that we could accomplish that by sometimes by slowdown and retiming. Okay, so in this case, where is something being computed? So, what do you think will be the so x. So, let us talk about x to x. So, x to x, the communication, there is no computation. So, x is simply, this says x is going up, and whenever it is going up, whether it is going up to the processing element to the right or staying in the same PE or going to the processing element left, it does not matter. But we need to make sure that the communication delay is 1. So, that means S transpose E x, the number of delays on the so remember I talked about the edge E maps to S transpose E number of delays. Okay, so, S transpose times E x, which will be S 1, S 2, 0 1, which is S 2 should be greater than or equal to 1, and that 1 is because of the communicating edge. If I take the edge from W to W, so S transpose E W should be equal to, well, I can just write S 1, well, S 1, S 2 multiplied by 1 0, and that should be greater than or equal to 1, and Y to Y, that one should be S transpose, so that is S 1 minus S 2, okay, should be greater than or equal to 8. Why 8? That is the time to multiply. So, there is multiply add going on at that computation y, plus the communication also is 1, and that should be 8. So, we have these equations here, S 2 greater than or equal to 1, S 1 greater than or equal to this, and that is greater than or equal to this, and finally this adjusts x to y. So, this says S transpose E x to y should be greater than or equal to 0, because there is no communication. when I am taking the value of x to compute y, so y is simply using the w and x at that node. Nothing is being computed, and that simply says, well, it's not saying anything. It says S1 S2 multiplied by 0 0 is greater than or equal to 0. That's 0 greater than or equal to 0. S transpose E W to Y greater than or equal to 0, same thing. These two equations are just garbage equations, because they are just saying 0 greater than or equal to 0, which doesn't mean anything. Now we can solve for these inequalities. So there are 3 inequalities and 2 variables, and we want to, well, we have other objectives in mind. In particular, I am interested in maximizing the hardware utilization efficiency, which is 1 over S transpose D. Okay, so so the reduced dependence graph had 5 edges. We got 5 equations where we can embed the computation and communication times as constraints. So let me just pick, well, it doesn't matter, but let me just pick S2 is equal to 1, which is the minimum value of S2, and then I can pick S1 is equal to 9. So S1 is greater than or equal to 8 plus S2, and that automatically satisfies greater than or equal to 1. Okay, so now S transpose is 9 and 1. Okay, now if I pick the projection vector D, which is if I pick this as 1 minus 1, then S transpose D is equal to 8, and the hardware utilization efficiency will be 1 over 8. So okay, so if I take that as D is that, then P transpose D should be 0. So P transpose is 1 1, and then if we compute the P transpose E and S transpose E for x, w and y, x is 0 1, w is 1 0, y is minus 1, P transpose is 1 1. So that's just add this up, 1 1 0. S transpose is 9 1. So that's 9. So 1 times 1, 9 times 1 is 9. 9 minus 1 is 8, and that's those are the values. And if I then draw the high level diagram of the systolic array that satisfies those quantities, this says x goes to the right with 1 delay, w goes to the right, P transpose is 1 with 9 delays, and output y stays in the same PE, that's processor displacement 0 with 8 delays. Okay, so now, well, first of all, this probably is this something you can relate to based on the architectures we have seen before? Who can relate? Who can say, yeah, this is exactly same as what I have seen before, or related to something we have seen before? Any volunteers? Okay, well, believe it or not, this is very much related to the design B2. And remember that the design B2 had the same P transpose and D, but a different S. So, but it had the same displacement vector for design B2. Let me see, this is 15.6. 11 if I can find 15.10. That's kind of strange that I would not find, but it doesn't matter. Okay, this doesn't matter. So B2 has the same P transpose and D. So how do you think these two are related to each other? So first of all, you already know that this is only utilized 1/8 of the time. So that means it corresponds to a design with interleaving factor of 8. Okay. So I take this design B2, I interleave this by factor 8, replace each delay by 8 delays. Okay. So that's how I get 8 delays. So that's 8 delays. Okay, so delay replaced by 8 delays. This delay on W replaced by 8 delays. If this was 8 delays, and then we are done. So if I take B2 and interleave by factor 8, we get how do we go from this to that? Any volunteers? Place a pipelining cut set. Then 8 plus 1 becomes 9, 0 plus 1 becomes 1. This is feed forward. So you can place a pipelining cut set. So again, the ability to, of course, the systolic arrays were not first understood in this manner, but now that you have taken the class and studied all these different techniques, and a goal of this class, which is what we are trying to do now, is to relate a variety of these techniques and reach the same solution in a variety of ways. What seems like a systolic mapping can be obtained from interleaving and pipelining. And that's all your homework is, but we'll talk a little more about homework, but let me first get to the third part of the topic today. So, so we are going to spend little time on matrix multiplication. And how do we design? Well, once you understand matrix multiplication, you will very quickly have an idea what a tensor processing unit does, because it's computing a tensor. Okay, so that's okay, we'll get to that later on. So matrix multiplication. So let's take a very simple example of multiplying a 2 by 2 matrix A and a 2 by 2 matrix B to compute a 2 by 2 matrix C. So C11, C12, C21, C22 is equal to A11, A12, A21, A22 times B11, B12, B21, B22. So C11 is first row, first column, A11, B11 plus A12, B21. C12 is first row, second column, A11, B12 plus A12, B22. C21 is second row, first column, A21, B11 plus A22, B21. And C22 is A21, B12 plus A22, B22. Okay, so we take these equations and construct the so-called dependence graph. So the dependence graph of the simple 2 by 2. So the dependence graph of the FIR filter was what is known as a two-dimensional dependence graph. Okay. Because we could represent that in IJ axis. Now this representation is going to be a three-dimensional dependence graph. Okay, so let's say that let me just make sure we take the same axis from the book. So so let me just define I, J, and K. Okay, and A is assigned to J axis. So A is traveling in J axis, B is traveling in I axis, and the output C is traveling in K axis. Okay, so so A is going in the so-called J axis. So if I take A okay, A11 is going this way, A12 is going this way, and B is going to the right, B11 is going this way, and B12 is going that way. Okay, so let's see what we have now. Okay, so what is C11? C11 is A11, B11, so this is 0, A11, B11, plus A12, B21, A12, B21. So that is C11. Oh, okay. Okay. So C11 is A11, B11 plus A12, B21. So that's C11. Okay. C12 is A11. So this is A11 going this way times B12, which is here. So 0 plus that plus A12, which reaches here, times B22. Okay, so that is going to be C12, and here we have A21, B11, A21, B11 plus A21, B11 plus A22, B21. So B21 reaches here, A22, and that is C21. And then finally C22, okay, A21 reaches here. So A21 and B12 is here. So 0 plus that, that's A21, B12, okay, going up, plus A22. So A22 reaches this node, B22 reaches that node, and you multiply and add to the previous one, we get C22. So that is the three-dimensional dependence graph of the 2 by 2 matrix multiplication. Okay. So, now if you think about the reduced dependence graph of this matrix multiplication. So, essentially we have A, the variable A. Okay, I guess, well, I could go and write those equations. Okay, let's maybe do that. So, so the regular iterative algorithm Aijk, okay, and at any point ijk, we have a 3-dimensional space graph or dependence graph. So, as I explained, A is moving in j axis. So, this is going to be Aij minus 1k. So, j minus 1 goes to j. B is moving in I direction. So, Bij is equal to Bi minus 1 jk, and C Ijk is, so C is moving up. So, that is taking the previous value of k and add to that the product at that location. Okay. Well, that is the regular iterative algorithm description of the dependence graph. That is basically saying at any given node, it's regular. So, you can grab any node, take any node and describe all the computations and communications going at that node, and that is described by these 3 equations. Okay. So, what are the fundamental edges? The fundamental edges, so if I draw the dependence graph here, A, B and C, the reduced dependence graph. Okay. A has a vector 0 1 0, B 1 0 0, C 0 0 1. Okay. From A to C, that is 0 0 0, from B to C, that is 0 0 0. So, the regular iterative algorithm and the reduced dependence graph. Okay. So, from the reduced dependence graph, we could now write down okay. So, if we assume the multiply add is 1 unit of time and the communication time is 0, then well, there is no communication time now, unlike the previous example. So, I do not really well, I mean, so okay, S transpose, let us say S transpose is S1, S2, S3. So, S transpose A, okay, so A traveling in whatever direction, there is no communication delay, is assumed to be 0. So, that says, so for the edge A to A, that simply says S2 is greater than or equal to 0. And this is S2, S1 times 0 plus S2 times 1. For edge B to B, that says S1 must be greater than or equal to 0. For edge C to C, because that is computing something, so this is S3 should be S3, S1, S2, S3 multiplied by 0, 0, 1 should be greater than or equal to 1, and these are all 0. So, they do not matter really, that says 0 greater than or equal to 0. So, so those are the constraints we need to satisfy, and now we can just design thousands of systolic matrix multipliers. It really I can, these constraints are easy to satisfy. So, so let me just take a couple from the book, and then maybe we'll talk some more about other possibilities. So, if I take S transpose as 1 1 1, D is 0 0 1, P transpose. Okay. So, first of all, what does this 1 1 1 really mean? That well, okay. So, that means the execution time of node index I will be I plus j plus k. What does D mean? Projection vector 1 means what? What does this 0 0 1 mean? That means the projection vector is now in k direction. That means this is k is up. So, that is the projection vector D. That means all nodes in vertical directions are mapped to same PE. So, these are mapped to same PE, these are mapped to same PE, and so are these. So, that is how the PEs are mapped in this case. Okay. Now, what is going to be the P transpose here? Now, we are mapping the 3-dimensional dependence graph to a 2-dimensional systolic array. That means, unlike the previous example, where we took a 2-dimensional dependence graph and mapped to a 1-dimensional systolic array, now these are mapped in a way to a 2-dimensional systolic array. So, every PE has to be assigned a 2-dimensional representation. So, the processor displacement vector, so this S transpose is 1 by 3 and P transpose D should equal 0, and D is 3 by 1, and processor vector must be 2 times 3, because I need to have P transpose P transpose P transpose I should be P transpose I should be 2-dimensional. Okay. So, P transpose I, for example, should be I am not sure if I give any notations here, but it does not matter, should be some J1 J2, for example. So, this is 3 by 1, this should be 2 by 3. So, this vector here is going to be 2 by 3. So, there has to be 2 linearly independent rows, not dependent, 2 linearly independent rows. Okay. All right. So, what do you think we should choose P transpose? So, I can choose a variety of P transpose, and that will lead to a variety of systolic arrays. But if I take the one in the book 1 0 0 0 1 0, and you can see that P transpose D. So, this value is 1. So, I make this 0, and then these are not, it does not matter. I can take this anything I want as long as they are linearly independent. But these have to be 0 because that element is non-zero. Okay, so if I take those and then map the fundamental edges, the fundamental edges are here 0 1 0 1 0 0 0 0 1. So, if I take the fundamental edge for A, the fundamental edge for A is 0 1 0, for B is 1 0 0, for C is 0 0 1, and this says that for the first element take the first value, okay, so 1 times 0, 1 times 1, and 1 times 0. Okay, for the second row should be middle value, so 1, 0, 0. Okay, S transpose, just add them up, 1, 1, 1. Okay, so so if we do that, then A moves with, so A moves, okay, let me just instead of drawing this in detail, let me just show you the diagram on the book. This is okay, that's the diagram for what I just showed. A, so that's the processor axis, I is in this direction, J going down. So A 0 1, so A is going down, A is fed here. B is and goes with 1 delay, so going down with 1 delay. B is 1 0, that's B going to the right with 1 delay, and C accumulated in the same PE with 1 delay, and that's the so called high level diagram. And in those days, if you could come up with of course people didn't know how to map these things, but in those days if you could sit down and PhD students sat down and came up with a new systolic architectures for matrix multiplication or anything else. So this is so called S.Y. Kung array. Kung is now a professor at Princeton, but I think when he did this work he was at USC. Okay, so that's kind of the 2 by 2 matrix multiplication. Hardware utilization efficiency 100%. So called solution 2, here is another example. S transpose 1 1 1, D 1 1 minus 1. So what is S transpose D? That is going to be 1, still 100% utilized, and P transpose is this quantity. So P transpose D, the last is minus 1, so 1 minus 1 0, 1 minus 1 0, and if you do that, then if you map these things, and then you get what is known as the Weiser-Davis array, so-called reference number 4. There are more here. There is this mapping, so-called, there seems to be a spelling mistake that I had not noticed in last 20 years. Schreiber-Rao array, that should be a B. Somebody's name spelled wrong. And the solution 4, yet another S transpose D and P transpose. And this was one of the very, very early arrays. And in this particular example, if you look at what is S transpose D, 1 1 1 times 1 1 1 is 3. That means this particular array has hardware utilization efficiency 1/3. And of course, this was published by Kung and Lyserson when Lyserson was, by the way, I should point out that there are two Kungs, H.T. Kung at Harvard and S.Y. Kung at Princeton. So don't get confused between those two people. Very famous, both very famous people. So, so the so-called Kung-Lyserson array, which nobody really understood why the hardware utilization efficiency is 1/3. And of course, now we can see through the theory that the S transpose D is 3, so the hardware utilization efficiency is 1/3. Okay. We have just about a minute and a half or so. So let me just briefly walk through the homework. I have completed essentially chapter 7, so you should be able to. So the first couple of questions relate designs dual R2 and R2. So by this draw the block diagram and space-time mapping. So learn how to draw those space-time graphs that I was making mistakes in the beginning, using one or more transformation derive dual R2 from R2, and more similar thing here, another similar thing here. So there are couple of problems like that, and the last problem is to draw some yet more matrix multipliers using different let's see what did we give here. I should have said this word iteration vector means projection vector, which is a D. Okay, I didn't mention in the class. That should be called projection vector D. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, so we will continue with new topic next class. I also posted a couple of papers on high-level synthesis, which we may briefly talk about, or probably not, but read them on your own. Okay, a couple of you did not come last class. Afzal Rasul and Zhangji. Okay, you can turn in your homework.